In the 1980s classic film Adventures in Babysitting, Julia Louis-Dreyfus auditioned for the lead role, but withdrew in favor of Jodie Foster. Then Jodie Foster also withdrew. Michelle Pfeiffer, Valerie Bertinelli, Elizabeth Shue, and Justine Bateman were all up for the role. Bateman withdrew from the project due to creative conflicts. Pfeiffer left the project and starred in Witches of Eastwick, and eventually the role of a lifetime of Chris, the teenage girl sent on a madcap adventure through downtown streets of Chicago while babysitting, went to the amazingly talented Elizabeth Shue on the final day of auditions. Thus, history was made, and Adventures in Babysitting became the greatest movie in cinema history. Adventures in Babysitting on this episode of... Wait.
What are you doing?
I think I read it wrong. Oh. Babysitting horror movies on this episode of Attack of the Killer podcast.
Way off.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer podcast. 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 Yay.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson. I, Chris Parker, will babysit your kids tonight, and they will be in good hands. Don't worry, we won't go drive into the big city to pick up my friend Brenda at the train station. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of working through some things right now. Hey, everybody. Insane Mike here, and this is Attack of the Killer podcast, a horror movie podcast where a group of friends get together and discuss horror movies within a certain topic. And this topic is horror movies about babysitting. So there may be spoilers, just to give you a heads up. Now, this is episode 221 that we call Babysitting Horror. Now, when Chris is talking to Brad and Sarah in their living room, scenes from the movie Halloween can be seen on their television in the background. And Deborah Hill is the producer of Adventures in Babysitting, and she also is the producer of Halloween.
You brought it back.
Speaking of Deborah Hill, if you want more Attack of the Killer podcast in your life, go to jointheattackers.com. At jointheattackers.com, you can become fully submerged in the full Attack of the Killer podcast experience. You can get bonus episodes, special videos, Insane Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 list, killer critiques, your very own membership card and official certificate, Mikey's Monsters, and so much more. Go to jointheattackers.com and pick the package you want so you can get more amazing content and merch. Again, that's jointheattackers.com. Brenda's coat in Adventures in Babysitting is a Hemington High School jacket. Hemington High School is a fictional high school, but I think it's a tribute to Ernest Hemingway. Because Ernest Hemingway, it was Hemingway High School. Sorry, not Hemington. Hemingway High School. Now, Ernest Hemingway was born and raised in Oak Park, Illinois. So I think the fictional high school in Adventures in Babysitting was a tribute to him. Now, speaking of Ernest Hemingway, it's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. One summer, he got a job as a babysitter, and he had to wear an owl costume. They called him the Hootenanny. Jason, everybody.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know what's wrong with Mike tonight.
He tried to get a job babysitting Superman's son, but he didn't get the job because the kid already had supervision. Andy!
Hey, attackers. Happy Halloween, you bastards.
One time, we were babysitting together. That was until the kid peed on the floor. Then he said, "You're in charge," and left. Tad!
Oh, man, the dad jokes get worse every week.
Every week.
Good thing we're in every other week show. And we have two very special guests from the Beauty and the Screams podcast, Emily and Jennifer. Welcome to the show.
No bad joke for them.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
They are our babysitters tonight.
We want them to come back. You know.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys tell everybody out there in podcast land a little bit about your guys' show?
Okay, so we are actually sisters.
Yes.
And we basically just decided we wanted to talk about anything that really falls into like, not even just like horror, I guess, because creepy and stuff like that isn't technically always like
Isn't
scary.
always scary, yeah.
But basically, yeah, we talk about an array of different things, something different every week. Like, we are currently about to put out an episode about the Day of the Dead because it comes out on November 1st. Our last episode was Halloween themed because it was our next episode before Halloween actually happened. And we've talked about Ouija boards, we've talked about spiritual communications, we've talked about
serial killers,
pirates, all kinds of things.
Ooh.
Just
A
an
couple
outlet.
sisters shooting the shit.
Yes, we've recently gotten into a lot more true crime though because I'm fascinated.
I'm obsessed with true crime.
Absolutely, aren't we all?
Yes.
Well, it's awesome having you guys on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me back anyway, Emily.
Happy to be here.
Now, you know one movie that's missing from Shudder that would make the streaming service perfect? Adventures in Babysitting!
Oh my gosh.
Despite that, though, Shudder is the best for streaming services for horror. Shudder can be streamed on your phone, on your iPad, on Roku, Apple TV, so much more. You need Shudder in your life. Right now, you can get a free month of Shudder thanks to us here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. Enter our promo code AOTKP and get started on the best decision of your life. A lot of us horror fans just recently checked out Joe Bob's Halloween special, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about up next in Tad's segment, What We Watched.
Like Mike said, we just wrapped up a new week of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, and I'm going to skip that one this week because I feel like most of our listeners watched that too. So let's just go ahead and go to Andy. What have you watched?
Okay, just recently, last night, I got onto Shudder and I watched The Cleansing Hour. Have you guys watched that yet?
No. Tell us about it.
It's about this it's an internet show, and this priest, he does these exorcisms that are supposed to be real, and he's got about 50,000 followers and all this jazz, and it's all faked, and people perceive it to be real, and then finally on the next show, this girl that comes in is the fiance of one of the show's producers, and she legitimately gets possessed. And this guy is like, he went to seminary, the guy that does the show that's supposed to be doing all the exorcisms, but I mean, he drinks, he womanizes, he does all this stuff, and then they really have to perform an exorcism, and they have to like literally confess their sins, which are not mild, in front of like this internet audience, and I'll leave it at that. It's not bad. It was actually pretty good. It's got the one recognizable face that I saw in this was Kyle Gallner. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And he played, he was on Walking Dead very briefly, and he was also in the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. He played.
Most people were on The Walking Dead briefly.
Yeah, that's very
Sorry.
true. He played the male counterpart to Nancy. If you guys ever saw the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, and I recommend it. It's worth watching once. I also sat down and watched, like, for the bajillionth time, since it was the 42nd anniversary, the original 1978 Halloween. Why, you ask?
Why,
I'm
Andy?
like, really, why are you asking? Do you need a fucking reason to watch Halloween? What the
Good
fuck?
point.
I also watched. I know it's probably supposed to be movies, but I did binge the second season of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. I want to say it wasn't as good as the first season, but still, it kept me entertained. There was a very interesting story about the ghosts of the victims of the tsunami on this one island in Japan, and how they keep coming back, and they're looking for clothes and they don't know they're dead and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Nikki actually had to confess to me today. She's like, I'm really sorry, but I watched 2 episodes of Unsolved Mysteries this morning without you.
Ooh,
Yeah,
straight to the counselor with that one.
So what I'm saying in short is
Call the
that
lawyer.
Buddy will have 2 Christmases this year.
Oh, snap.
Call the lawyer. It's over. It's done.
Was the Cleansing Hour, is that a Shudder original?
That is a Shudder original. Yes, it was actually on the. I could have watched it like before it got on Shudder because it was part of a film festival, virtual one that I subscribed to. But I saw that it was a Shudder original. I was just like, well, shit, I could just wait. Why, I've only got a limited amount of time to watch some of the stuff that's on this horror festival, so I waited until I could just watch it on Shudder. But yeah, it's good. I recommend it. It's not the scariest exorcism movie. I mean, let's be honest. There's only one really super scary exorcism movie, and everybody knows what that is.
Yes.
And
Scary
don't say the
movie
wrong.
4.
Of course, you're right. Repossessed is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, yeah, check it out. The Cleansing Hour, and definitely watch Unsolved Mysteries because they're both really good shows. And watch Halloween because you need to.
Because.
Yeah, I've watched Halloween in parts probably 10 times this season because it's on AMC, and I cannot not leave it on the TV, and just Carpenter's score in the background as I hang Halloween lights is about as good as life gets for me anymore. So
Done.
Yeah.
Dun.
No, I Laurie's theme is it for me. Laurie's theme on piano. Oh my God. Like if I can drive through the park with the leaves changing, listen to that in my car, it's like bliss.
I wish I had you all alone.
Okay. Anyways, we're going to move on to Jason. What have you watched?
Okay, I watched, Tina and I watched this movie from 2019 called Spiral. I know there's 15,000 different spirals out there, but this one, the tagline is "Fear is everywhere." A same-sex couple moves to a small town so they can enjoy a better quality of life and raise their 16-year-old daughter with the best social values. But nothing is as it seems in their picturesque neighborhood, and when Malik sees the folks next door throwing a very strange party, something very shocking has got to give.
Well, during quarantine, any party that the neighbors are throwing, I'm calling the cops. Like, don't be partying.
This movie's all right. It's, it was more about just setting a mood of like this guy. I think the title is just kind of like this main dad kind of losing his shit. He sees something, and it's like Fright Night, but he sees something in his neighbor's house, and he's just paranoid, and he had a very hard childhood growing up as a black gay kid, and there's some similarities, and so there's just his paranoia with the whole thing in the neighborhood, and just never feeling comfortable, and so it's kind of about him losing his shit, trying to figure out what the hell really is going on with the neighbors, if there is something or not, and so it's pretty cool.
Is it one of those where Tina had the remote and she's just like, this is fine, hits play, and you're like, how can you do that?
100%.
Yep.
It's absolutely. Like, how would you? We didn't even research this yet. Oh, okay, we're watching it. And it was fine. And then we watched the one that I got to pick was, of course, Joe Bob. And I won't say much other than, man, how great was it to just hear Joe Bob talking about our friends. Right?
He
Like,
said
it's so cool.
Bettendorf, Iowa, out loud.
He did.
He did. I was giddy.
How
I got
great.
super giddy.
He was much nicer to them and about them than he was for Joe Lynch. So
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's
true.
what I was going to say. I'm like, he said a lot of really nice things about them as writers, as directors, and about the movie. And he still
Yeah.
gave them shit about things because he's
Oh,
Joe Bob,
he's
but
well, you has to.
he was very complimentary. It was awesome.
My heart fluttered every time he said Scott and Brian's name.
He
Like,
talked
every
about what
time.
they're doing in the
Yeah.
future. I mean, he was
Mhm.
just all about. It was so great.
Yep.
I'm so happy
It
for
was so
them.
awesome. The only thing I was hoping for, because towards the end, he would mention like, so and so played so and so and went on to do this and that,
Yep.
and I was really hoping he would mention Justin as the clown.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it was pretty high expectations, but I was like, I was high on the hog at that moment anyway. So
Yep. It was all great. It was so great. And then Hack-A-Lantern, Jesus, how's that?
amazing.
I was going to say, Mike's got to love that movie. I had never seen that before. And
Which I was stoked for. I love when he shows something I haven't seen. Like
yeah,
everybody sort of imploded on the internet because they were expecting Halloween 3. Like, I love Halloween 3. I do not need Joe Bob to show Halloween 3. He did it on Monster Vision, and I don't need to watch it again. Show me something new.
yep.
I don't know where people are
And he
getting
did.
expectations for certain movies.
The internet
during
and
this.
Twitter is freaking out about Halloween 3. It's kind of ridiculous, right?
Get over it.
Right.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I hope he doesn't do it just because I don't want him to give in.
Right, exactly. And so those were great, of course. And then Tina did her magical remote random pushing again. But I'm glad she did because, and you guys talked about it last episode, and I really wanted to re-listen to what you said after watching it and before this, but I didn't get a chance to. It was Hoobie Halloween. And because I
Yeah.
just remember, besides you guys going on for a half an hour about it, but I remember you guys saying some things that really pissed you off and like almost ruined the movie. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember anything really ruining the movie. It was pretty
I'm
awesome.
not going to say it ruined it, but I don't know. Again, that moment where they're at the radio station and they blame the love interest. They suspect the love interest. I guess I just didn't get there. I'm like, how did they suspect the love interest, and how quickly did they suspect her? Especially considering that the chief of police was suspecting Hoobie in the scene just before, and now he's listening to what Hoobie has to say about who he thinks the prime suspect is. That was my only beef, really. And again, it's a Happy Madison, with a movie where a guy has a Swiss Army thermos and you have to suspend disbelief on everything.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The hardest part for me was that to buy was Julie Bowen having a crush on him.
Yeah.
They're like, come.
That was a
Like,
bit
are you
much. That
serious?
could have been written better.
But everything
Right.
Ted and you guys said was the best part is just that how great would it be to have a town that is celebrated Halloween, even though they're mean to this one guy, but the town celebrated Halloween and it was such a big deal. And that was
Parties
the best.
downtown and stuff. And
That was the best part, just getting to see all that and where the moral went, with him.
I think the best part of the entire movie is the thermos, to be honest.
Well, okay, we're done here.
the thermos was fun. I don't know
It
if
was
he's being
cool.
sarcastic
No,
or
I
not.
was
No,
being
it-
serious. That's what I'm saying. It's hilarious. Like, it's a funny
Yeah.
running gag in the movie. I love it.
And it's a gag that hasn't been a gag in a long time.
Right.
Like that's cool that it's
Something over the top like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
some neat thing. So anyway, that's what I watched. Happy Halloween.
Excellent. I'm just going to go because I'm so excited for what I watched that I want to talk about it. And I'm just going to cut in front of everybody and not make myself go last.
Talk
So,
about it. Tell us.
all right. I watched Borat subsequent movie
Oh.
film. Did
Oh,
anybody
man.
else watch Borat 2?
I
Not
wanted
yet.
to. Not yet.
Nope.
Just me?
So far.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but holy shit, this is hilarious and, as always, eye-opening and sad at the same time. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll want to hug people, you'll want to burn our country to the ground.
Uh-huh.
All I'll say is that I hope, for this country's sake, that we never need another Borat movie. but I'm glad we have one. But the fact that our country's at the point where we need another Borat, we needed a second Borat movie, says a lot. But it's definitely worth the wait. Lives up to the hype. Sacha Baron Cohen is pushing for the actress who plays his daughter in the movie to get an Oscar because she's fantastic. She steals the show from Sasha, so I recommend it. It's on Prime. Then the next movie I watched was a first time watch for me. It's been on my watch list for a very long time, and I absolutely loved it. It's on Shudder streaming right now. Use the code AOTKP for a free month. Woo. It is Fade to Black.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I assume most of you have seen, like, at least I knew Mike had probably seen it. Jason, have you seen it?
I don't recall.
Has one of the coolest posters in history.
Yeah, it's a super cool poster. Half painted white face and half painted black.
Yeah. So the story is pretty simple. This kid who works in a theater, sort of. I think he sort of works in acquiring films and helping with the books and stuff at a theater or a film company. I don't even really know what his job is, but he's, needless to say, a pretty nerdy, socially awkward kid who is absolutely obsessed with film. So right away, Nikki's like, "Oh, it's you, cool." And he's almost cocky about his film knowledge and is always challenging people and spouting off random facts and trivia about films. And most women think it's weird. Most dudes beat him up for it. He gets bullied a lot. And it gets to a point where he sort of is sick of being bullied. So he snaps and he starts committing murders out of movies. So he dresses up as the characters in the films and reenacts murders from movies. So I won't spoil any of the kills, but he starts, killing people one by one by reenacting movie scenes. It's pretty awesome. A cool concept. Not a great movie, I would say, but definitely worth a watch. I really, really, really loved it. And it is on Shudder. So check out Fade to Black. And then the third one, I had a hard time choosing my third movie because I've seen quite a few awesome ones. But the other night I watched one of my favorite Halloween rewatches that I try to get every year. It's something that I think I actually discovered on Monster Vision, if I'm not mistaken. But it's Toby Hooper's The Funhouse.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
cool.
I absolutely love this movie. I've, watched it, like I said, almost every year in October. It just gives me the perfect feels. I think, outside of Texas Chainsaw and maybe Texas Chainsaw 2, Toby Hooper's best film, my favorite at least. I just love it. I know there's Poltergeist. I know there's a lot of stuff that you could list, but this one for me is greatly rewatchable. It has a lot of homages to other old horror movies, but the big reveal is always awesome to me. I love the villain wearing a big, creepy, ratty Frankenstein mask. That's cool as hell. Just has a lot of cool vibes, a lot of cool atmosphere, and something that always puts me in the mood around Halloween season. So yeah, check out The Funhouse also. And that's it for me. Let's see who hasn't gone. Mike, have you gone?
Not yet.
Okay, then go ahead.
I'll just briefly mention that the three of us just had a sweet drive-in experience. We got to see
Sure did.
Pumpkinhead on the big screen, on the big drive-in screen. So that was fun. We had a vendor booth and sold quite a bit of merch, so that was cool. But it was a blast. I love going to the drive-in. Don't get to do it enough, but I've done it more this year than I haven't in several years. So that's awesome. And another one I'll mention here is Brandy and I, for one of our Halloween October picks, that I think is going to be a reoccurring one for me, at least, is going to be the WNUF Halloween special.
Yeah, that was on my short list too.
Yeah, and I had just listened to your episode,
First time podcast,
for the first time podcast on that, and so that was great
with Brian and Brian.
Yeah, it was cool because yeah, as you guys are talking, I had just recently watched it, so it was like
Fresh
all
in your
still
mind.
fresh in my mind. Yeah. And then of course I watched the Joe Bob stuff. But the last one I'll bring up. This is completely out of left field and not horror. But we watched Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the movie starring the Bee Gees as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That movie's awesome. It's bad, but it's awesome.
Is it bad or is it awesome? Those are two different.
It's awesome.
It can be both, though.
Maybe it's
Exactly.
awesomely bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
And I don't care what Beatles fan I'm going to insult at this moment here, but Steve Martin's rendition of Maxwell Silverhammer is way better than the Beatles version. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Beatles are overrated anyways.
gonna
Emily,
say this-
what have you watched?
The Stones are better.
Well, I did watch The Wretched, which
Yeah, I
I had
haven't seen
asked
it
you
yet.
about. It is very good.
I've heard good things.
I'm not the greatest at explaining movies, but yeah. It was pretty good. I watched it with my mom, and the whole time she's like, "Oh my god. Oh my god."
I was trying to remember which movie that was because we watched most of our stuff together, and that's right because Mom kept saying that. I knew I had to make sure I was paying attention at that point because that meant it was good.
Yeah. Because that's Jennifer's form of watching a scary movie with me, is she sits on her iPad and draws so that she can look away when something happens. So, yes, we watched, and technically Jennifer watched The Wretched also. I'd watched it before everybody else saw it, but
Is it? Where's it streaming at?
that is on Hulu, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I still haven't seen it.
Well, it is on Hulu, so you should watch it because it's pretty good. It's not the greatest movie ever, but it's all right.
I will check it out.
I did watch. We both watched actually together. We watched Open 24 Hours.
That was a freaking mind bender. Let me tell you.
What is that? I have
Tell
no
me.
idea.
Yeah. What is it?
It's kind of it is a horror movie. It's about this girl who basically her boyfriend had been murdering women. He'd killed 35 women, and he basically forced her to sit and watch when he did it. And she's all psychologically messed up from it. And it's basically, in the beginning, she's seeing him places, but it's giving you the impression that it's just in her mind. But then it gets real crazy, and people start dying. And he's actually there. So,
That sounds awesome. Is that a newer
Yeah.
movie?
yeah.
Okay.
I had to rent it because I couldn't find it anywhere to watch it, stream it for free. So I rented it from Google. But
I thought for a second you meant you drove to a video store and rented it. I'm like, awesome.
Who does that? these
Where?
days?
Cool.
My dad does, okay? And he still doesn't even use Redbox. He still goes into the video store and picks out DVDs.
Well,
Good for
luckily we
him.
still have
Yeah.
a place he can do that. So
family video, baby.
Yeah. I give him a gift card Christmas time for $50 at Family Video and some microwave popcorn. I'm like, enjoy the next year of movies on me because you can probably get a year's worth for $50.
probably.
Yeah. And last night we watched Interview with the Vampire.
Classic.
Fun.
Yes, that is also streaming on HBO. I mean, on HBO, on Hulu. Wrong one. That's also streaming on Hulu.
Is that the one that has? Is it the one that has Keanu with the worst accent ever?
No, this is Brad Pitt and
Tom Cruise.
and Kirsten Dunst.
Okay, yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
who's the guy that is interviewing him?
The vampire.
That's interview. It's not.
Was it Slater?
Christian Slater.
Yes. Yeah.
He's been on the show before. It's not a big deal. It has Antonio Banderas.
Oh yes. I that was actually the first movie I ever watched as a kid that like traumatized me. Because
No, I
Banderas?
don't think I've actually ever seen Interview with a Vampire.
well,
I don't think I have
there's-
either.
There's just
Whoa.
one scene
Love
where
something.
it just messed me up for a long time. So basically it came out in 94, I'm pretty sure. So again, I was like 5. And my stepdad had bought it, and I was supposed to be playing in my room, and I did not play in my room. I like army crawled down the hallway, and I was behind the couch, like with my head peeked around, watching it. But then if like he stood up to go to the bathroom or get something to drink or whatever, I could like pull myself back behind the couch. So it wasn't like I was watching, and it was terrible. And I had nightmares about vampires killing my family for a really long time.
It's like I don't remember ever getting dreams from movies when I was a kid, but I think I sort of do now. But they're never like nightmares; they just influence my dreams somehow.
Yeah.
It's weird stuff. It's like a car that was from a movie. It's never like a character or anything or a story or anything. It's just an object.
Yeah. Trying to think
Well-
if there's anything else.
Jennifer, did you watch anything different?
Not really. Emily and I usually watch all of our stuff together.
We're
Well,
together.
that's awesome. You have something to
Aw.
someone to watch movies with.
Right? My best friend.
Yeah, we'll literally just be sitting there. This is our day to day. We like play Scrabble, then we're bored with Scrabble. So then I'm like, you want to watch a movie or show? And then we choose, and then I pretty much pick what we watch.
Excellent. Well, we all had some good picks this week. I guess that wraps up what we watched.
Did you know that Adventures in Babysitting was Chris Columbus's directorial debut? Yeah, it was.
Huh.
Have you ever listened to a podcast and caught yourself talking to your device like you're part of the conversation?
Mhm.
Well, now is your chance with Pole Position, and here's Jason to tell us about it.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
All right, this is just the segment of the show where we do a quick little poll for Twitter, and we call it Pole Position. And the four of us get to pick an answer to the question, and then everyone gets to go to Twitter and vote and see who got the right answer. Today's Pole Position question is, who is the worst movie babysitter? All right, Mike, you're up first.
I chose the crazy babysitter twins from Planet Terror. Because when they are jumping on her car and beating the crap out of it because she hasn't paid them yet, it seems like pretty crazy, pretty horrible babysitting to me. That's not
I
good
would
business
love to have
practices.
them as my babysitter, though.
Aren't those Robert Rodriguez's nieces?
Yep.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good pick.
Thanks.
I'll go next. I chose Peter from Hereditary. This is my worst babysitter.
I told
Yeah, maybe
Nikki your
that
pick,
is.
and she laughed out loud.
Oh, Nikki, your
Good.
sense of humor.
Well, good pick, man. That's a dark one.
Yeah, it's about as bad as you could get.
How did you
As a babysitter.
How did you think of that one? Like I never would have thought of that, but it's the perfect answer.
Honestly, I was listening to Ari Aster on the Eli Roth's History of
yeah.
Horror Uncut. I just happened to be on his episode, and that made me think of it. So that was it. That was my pick. Thank you tell Nikki thanks, I think. All right, Ted, what's your pick?
I'm going with Mrs. Baylock from the original The Omen. I mean, she literally hung herself at Damien's birthday party in front of all the kids. How much worse can you possibly get?
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
not
for
good.
you, Damien, then jumps out the window. I mean, that's as bad as you can be.
You get a poor report babysitter card on that one.
Yeah. Probably not, I mean, not
Yeah,
that it
bad
matters
Yelp
because
review.
she's dead now, but
All right, and Andy, what's your choice?
I chose the babysitter Lisa, played by Rachel Nichols in the Amityville horror remake from 2005. Because she's kind of a crappy babysitter. She's always, getting high and just not really paying attention to the kids. But I would totally be like that heavyset kid in the Kiss t-shirt making her popcorn because I really want her to be my babysitter. So yeah, that's my choice.
you wouldn't lock her out of the house like your other babysitter?
Hell no. I'd lock her in.
She ain't going nowhere.
That movie was on AMC the other night, and I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters, its original release, and so I, stopped on it and so sort of had it on the TV, and I need to revisit it. It's like the only movie I can think of where Ryan Reynolds is just a insane, crazy, angry asshole.
He's insane in that. What's that one? The Voices, where the cat and the dog are talking to him.
Right,
Oh,
but he's
yeah.
not like rage angry. He's more funny in that.
And and Tad was referencing a conversation Andy told us on our last bonus episode, which you can all go and listen to at jointheattackers.com. But that's a pole position for today. Everyone goes over to at AOTKP on Twitter, find us, and vote on who you think got the answer right on who was the worst movie babysitter. That's pole position.
You know what my favorite scene from Adventures in Babysitting is?
What?
When they're running away from the car thieves and they're being chased down, and they duck into this alley and go inside the blues bar, and they can't leave without singing the blues. So the gang sings babysitter blues, baby, babysitting blues. Yeah, that's my favorite scene.
I watched that movie a lot growing up, so I know it front to back. I know all the quotes. And then they remade it. Then they redid a new version with Jonah Hill. Not as good.
After
No, of course not.
hearing Mike talk about it, I've never seen it, and now I don't want to.
Hey,
what?
Andy, you're gonna have to jump on my podcast, watch it, and trash talk it.
Oh, gosh.
I suppose we should talk about our movies then.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Fine. Jason, what is our first movie talking about babysitting horror?
The first movie we're talking about tonight is the classic from 1979, When a Stranger Calls.
On a warm September evening,
Dr. Malakis?
Jill Johnson was babysitting for the two young children of a wealthy doctor.
Okay. Bye.
They told her where they would be and when they would be home. They told her everything she had to know, except what to do when a stranger calls.
Hello?
Have you checked the children?
What? Hello, could you get me the police?
Well, there's really nothing you can do about it down here. Have you checked the children?
He's watching me through the windows.
Well, then if he calls again, we can try to trace it. Why haven't you checked the children?
Please, can't you help me? I'm all alone here. What do you want?
Your blood.
Leave me alone!
Jill, this is Sergeant Sacker. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Jill, just get out of that house.
And the terror just begins when a stranger calls.
A young high school student babysits for a very rich family. She begins to receive strange phone calls threatening the children. When she finally realizes that it's not a joke, she calls the police, only to find that the calls are coming from inside the house. I know. Why does she never check on them fucking kids? It was driving Tina crazy.
And maybe she's the worst
She's
babysitter.
yelling at the TV, like, check on them fucking kids.
That's what I was
Why
gonna
haven't you
say.
gone up there? It was hilarious for me, but yeah, fun movie, guys.
This one, man, I'll say right out front, this is one of those movies, like, I feel like there's a certain set of movies where everybody feels like they've seen it. And
Yeah.
I felt like I've seen this, but when the story ended like 7 minutes in,
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the part we all.
Right. I'm like, that's what I thought the movie was. And I like checked the runtime. I'm like, we still have an hour left, like an hour and 20 minutes. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
there's a remake, and that's the beginning of this movie is the entire remake. So I was blown away. Like, I was like, oh, there's a movie after the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
That whole movie you thought was the movie was really just the setup. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like
That's
they made
cool.
the short and then they attached it onto the movie.
Right.
So did you say, because I never saw the remake is just that opening scene, but feature length?
Yeah, they draw it out.
Okay.
Like the
Wow.
guy, she finds out, like, I think they do some kind of thing where, they have cell phones. So he's in the house, and for some reason, maybe I don't remember very well, but he's like, if you leave, I'll kill the children, or I'll do something. So he basically holds her hostage in the house, and it's much more drawn out and tense.
So then is it just Black Christmas then?
Sort of like that. It does have that.
If it's just the intro
Yeah.
for the whole movie?
No, don't.
Okay.
But
Didn't
without-
drag that movie into this movie.
I was gonna say, without the cool lights and yeah.
But this has got Carol Kane. We love her. Mike's got a big crush on her, of course.
Dude, she was so cute in this.
She
And-
was. She's in everything, man.
Everything.
You should have done her on the
It was a bit
Insane's
of a hottie
Game.
back in the day.
All I can think
And,
of is her hair.
Yeah, her hair.
Her hair was a little weird. I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out.
Her hair was awful.
I couldn't.
It was a
couldn't
different
figure
time,
out which
okay?
way the brush goes through that hair. 'cause
Right,
it's
like it was
in so
going
many
all different directions. Like,
Exactly.
The bang area was like curled up and like forward. Then she had it like the top back half like brushed back, but then it was, I don't know. There was just a lot going on, and I know it was a different time, but still.
I have a feeling like the underneath part of that hair looks like the inside of a batting helmet, because that's what it looked like to me. It's just like it sat on her head, It looked like a helmet.
yes.
And speaking of a
Probably
different
teasing
time,
Hairspray enough.
how is Charles Durning an actor that acts in movies? How is he a person that gets to do that? He's fine, but he's not. You know what I mean?
My problem isn't so much him as an actor, but him as a believable cop that has to run through the streets
Well,
to
that
chase
too.
after
That was so
a
funny, him chasing
serial killer.
He's just a squatty little fat dude that you can hardly understand. And I'm like, how did he get this job?
I mean, when he's chasing after him in the streets, I haven't seen that much boob flopping since the intro to Baywatch.
Oh,
I was actually thinking the exact same thing when I watched it.
I feel like this is like the Dollar General version of like Dr. Loomis and Michael Myers,
right, exactly. But then the other guy, the main bad guy, I was up and down with that guy for a while. Tony Beckley is Kurt Duncan. Sometimes I'm like, fuck this guy, and then sometimes I'm like, you know what, he's creepy as shit. And then like, I don't know, I was back and forth on him for a while. Especially when like he walks into that lady's apartment and she lets him, and I'm like,
She's
what
so
are you
cool with it.
doing?
No shit.
Right.
What? This is a different time. There is no way.
It's like, how did you not like freak her out that he had followed her anyway?
Jesus Christ.
Right, like how did this person end up behind you in your hallway when it showed literally the whole journey of her getting
Right.
home?
Right.
So,
and then
You-
nonchalantly just lets him come in and has a
You were like, she
conversation.
was like rage pissed at him at the bar.
Uh-huh.
When all he did was try to light her cigarette, and now he's just, making himself at home. I was like, well, shit, you want a sandwich too? What the fuck?
I told Jennifer though, I was like, I really hope he doesn't kill her because she's a bad bitch. Like she did not cave at all. she's
Yeah.
like, get
Yeah.
away from me.
Yeah, she wasn't having it at the bar, and that was great.
Yeah.
Definitely. But
I did notice this. Did you guys notice that the bar Torchies? I think it's the same one that was in 48 Hours, if I'm correct.
Really nice.
Because at least the exterior anyway.
That the woman at the bar was my biggest problem with the movie. If you want to point out, and I'm not saying anything about like her as an actress or anything,
Colleen Dewhurst.
but the choices of the performance is what I
Yeah.
I couldn't stand.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like that whole part was not necessary.
It
Well,
kind of
that-
wasn't
Yeah.
because
It was all filler.
like, I mean, she has more
Really.
screen time than Carol Kane,
Right.
and I'm supposed to care about this woman. I know nothing about her. She's all over the place emotionally. Like, she's yelling at the guy, and then she's sympathetic to the guy, and then she's pissed off again at the guy, and then she's laughing with the guy, and then she's pissed off again, and then when she gets attacked, Charles Durnan comes running in, and then she's out of the story for the rest of the movie. Like, why was I paying any attention to this woman at all? What was the point of any of it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it's disappointing. Like, I hadn't seen this movie in years, and my first real experience of this movie was that opening, the opening scene, in the montage film "Terror in the Aisles." That's where I first experienced it, and I just thought that opening scene, and even when I finally got around to seeing the whole movie, that opening scene is so solid and so good, and it's great. And like, anytime you see anything about this movie, even the poster, it's Carol Kane. It's Carol Kane's eyes over the telephone, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always her, but she's just bookend in this movie. Like, she's the beginning and the end, and that's it. And then it's like this huge hour chunk in the middle of Charles Darwin trying to hunt down this guy and this bitchy woman at a bar, and the movie just comes to a crawl, and both story structure and even I hate to say it, but even the direction of the film it's just poor in the middle. I kind of I don't hate this movie, because again, the beginning and the end to me is so strong and so solid. It's just a shame they couldn't figure out a way of just taking out the middle and bringing those two ends together.
I think the character development is a little lackluster too.
There is none. There's no character development. I mean, really, the only arc we see in this movie is Charles's arc.
Yeah,
which is barely even an arc, but that woman in the bar, she's woman in the bar. Like, I don't even know if she has a name. That's how little I care.
Well, I'll be honest. I told Jennifer and that she reminded me of Patrick Swayze with a wig.
This is Roadhouse.
Tu Wong Fu.
Yeah, totally Tu Wong Fu. Yes.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, I think you're, right with the middle of the movie, and as good as the beginning 20 minutes is, I thought the ending was even more powerful.
I think so too. I agree.
Christ, it scared the holy hell out of me.
I agree. I do. I think I'm totally with you there. I think the ending, and I don't know if it's because
I was shitting in my pants.
I don't know if it's because of the first half that well, I can't even say first half. The first 10 minutes of the movie, it builds up to that end, and that's what's so frustrating about this movie is you get all that in the middle, all that in the middle when you have this amazing build up for the final act.
And you don't even know that she's coming back into the story. You don't even know that.
No, and as I'm watching this, and I'm writing up notes for the show today as I was watching the movie, and I jump on IMDb to kind of look at some things about this movie, and the description of the movie, I was perplexed. I'm like, is this a lie? Because it says, like, a psychotic character terrorizes a babysitter, then returns 7 years later to menace her again. And when I'm at an hour and 20 minutes of a movie that's like an hour and 30 some minutes long, I'm like, no, IMDb lied. Carol Kane does not come back in this movie.
Like, I thought she was just gone. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. What happened to her? Like, what happened to the babysitter?
I kept saying she has to come back at some point because they wouldn't have had that, like,
her live.
And they wouldn't keep referencing her at different times, too.
Yeah, why would they establish her that well and then just not have it pay off?
Mm-hmm.
And it paid off. I thought, my goodness.
Big time.
I do have a great story about this movie because I saw it years ago. I had bought like this 2-pack slasher Blu-ray, and it came with Happy Birthday to Me and When a Stranger Calls. And I had this is when my wife and I were first dating, and we're watching it, and When a Stranger Calls, and it's getting late and she's sleeping over and whatnot, and it gets to the point where where she's lying in the bed and she thinks he's in the closet, and you see him turn around and snarl at her. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I got really, really, really scared because I was like, I freaked out because Danielle screamed at the top of her goddamn lungs. I was like when a cat in a cartoon like launches up to the ceiling, and that was me because my wife had screamed so goddamn loud. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what was that? And she's like swatting at me and slapping. It's like, I told you I didn't want to watch this goddamn shit at this late night. So I had to go around in my own house knowing that I had been home the whole night, right? And I had to check in my cellar. I had to go upstairs and make sure that no one was actually in the home. Yeah, she's giving me the stink eye right now. It's hilarious. And I actually had to make sure. So I was kind of like the hero and the asshole at the same time. So I made sure that there was no one in our house, there was no one in our closet, and the guy that's in her bed is actually her husband. So yeah, I have a very very soft spot in my heart for this movie, as despite all its flaws, and it has many. I hold this movie near and dear to me.
Would you say? I mean, I know this is, there's that old urban legend of the call coming in from the inside of the house. Like you said, it was used in Black Christmas. Is used in this. But do you think this influenced the opening of Scream? Because that's what I always think of.
Oh, wow! Yeah.
Ghostface calling, and but
Harassing
but they kill her, like Drew Barrymore's character, right off the bat.
Yeah. I wonder too. It could be this movie because when I was younger, this movie to me was the movie that people referred to as far as that urban legend, and not Black Christmas.
Yeah,
I still think Black Christmas is the better movie by far.
Right.
I fucking love Black Christmas, and that whole urban legend is executed better in Black Christmas, and it came first before this one.
Right.
But for some reason, people really latched on. And I don't know, maybe
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have any kind of definitive, but I mean, we're talking about this. We all know the first opening 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't, and then the rest of it, I mean, up until the end, but it's like everybody watching this, I'm like, I've seen this. Yeah. Even watching it, I'm like, I've seen it. And then it happens, and I'm like, "What? There's more movie after this." I thought that was a movie, but Black Christmas is good from the beginning to end. That's the difference to me. And because this for opening 20 minutes is so memorable, people attribute it to that. Where that's sort of just the gimmick of this movie. That nobody remembers the middle of this movie.
No.
And that's the thing is,
I'm thinking this almost like the beginning of this movie is like, since everybody knows that they've seen it, it almost falls like under a Mandela effect in a sort of way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're right about that. I kind of, I mean, I didn't do any research, so I don't know. I should have. I guess I just assumed maybe that this was a bit more of a commercial success. Maybe it played more theaters, had a longer running time, because I can remember being in grade school and some friends of mine telling me, piece by piece, the whole opening scene of this movie and referring to this movie. So I even knew about it way back then when it came out, even though obviously I didn't see it when I was too little. I was too chicken, but so yeah, this movie has always been in my consciousness since dating all the way back to grade school. And then I didn't discover Black Christmas well until late high school. So yeah, I don't know. I just assume maybe it had more of a bigger theatrical run than maybe Black Christmas, or
it must be because I'm thinking because I know Prom Night had like a smaller release, and that was like during the slasher boom. and that was a Canadian film. Is it because maybe Black Christmas was a Canadian film? It got such a smaller release, and then this is an American film. It got a wider release. I'm just taking a stab in the dark here.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing too. And I know like Black Christmas went through a couple title changes. I don't know if
yeah, that's right.
If it played in different areas as a different title, or they changed it at the last minute, or if they changed it because there's trailers out there with the different titles of the movie for Black Christmas, like Silent Night, Deadly Night, or not Silent Night,
Silent Night,
Bloody Night. Yeah, and then there was another one I can't remember.
Or just being on Terror in the Aisles and reaching the TV audience.
That's true too. Yeah, I referenced that before, and maybe because Terror in the Aisles back when I was younger and I was first getting into horror big time, that played all the time on like HBO and Showtime. So,
well, I know the opening of this is on like Bravo's 100 scariest movie moments. It's in like every countdown for scariest. Just the opening. They just talk about that one scene. So that was probably part of it too. It was like a moment of pop culture. And I think going back to the Scream reference, I mean, everybody talked about that opening, the Scream forever. I mean, from like 96 until still people do it. Do you like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm almost thinking we could do a telephone horror episode just, between this and Black Christmas and I Saw What You Did.
But Scream was half this and half Psycho with the Janet Leigh killing off your main character thing too.
Oh yeah,
so,
well yeah,
but
the director of this movie is Fred Walton.
Sure, good old Fred Walton.
Well, now hold on, because you just recently watched this.
Good night, John Boy.
Awesome classic 80s slasher that I love, but also kind of helped put the nail in the coffin on the slasher genre. But he directed April Fool's Day as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this has a sequel, too, with Carol Kane in it.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch it now.
Carol Kane, it's better.
Really?
I think I've heard it's better. I think, if I'm thinking right.
Well, Carol Kane was also in a movie in 1994 called The Crazy Sitter.
Oh, poor Carol.
She does a lot of sitting.
That girl.
With Beverly D'Angelo.
Have you watched it?
No, I'm just on IMDb now, and it popped up. It has Phil Hartman, Lisa Kudrow. It looks really bad.
It's
really bad. Yeah.
I want it noted that I do like this movie.
Yep, I would say so too.
Just anybody going into it's got to understand it's the
brace
big,
yourself.
The meat in the middle of the sandwich is it kind of drags on.
Don't be durning down to the middle of this movie.
It really loses its focus and direction.
Bread's
and
good.
It's sort of like
great.
A Reuben that's on like really good rye, but they forgot like the sauerkraut or something.
There's moments where like, and this is bad because
Ted's on a cooking kick, by the way.
I don't normally watch movies, and I try to submerge myself into the movie as much as possible, and I feel like I usually do a pretty good job. But I was noticing a lot of technical errors in this movie, which I feel like comes into play with how disinterested I am of the middle story of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say you submerge yourself, so you babysat while watching it and left Simon with a psychopath in the house.
Yeah.
You had Jason call you from upstairs, like, I'm next to Simon.
That's how to really experience this movie. But no, I was seeing like light stand legs, and I was seeing crew member shadows on the walls and shit, and I'm like, this is just amateurish. This is really, I mean, it really feels like there was no budget on this movie, and it shows. I don't know if that's true or not, but when it shows, it's bad.
Like when the killer looked like he just slathered himself in jam when he killed those kids, and those those shots.
But it was 70s on film, and it has a charm.
Oh yeah, it still has some great 70s charm. And I don't know if it takes place in New York, but all the downtown stuff has that gritty, gross New York feel to it, so I can also appreciate it for that.
It certainly felt like someone was like, I have this awesome movie, and they were like, she's going to call the cops and they're going to be like, the killer's in the house. And then the producers were like, all right, that's like 15 minutes. What else you got? And he's like, and then he had to come up with the rest of the movie.
Well, it's funny you say that because Fred Walton's first film is a short film called The Sitter, which was basically the setup for this movie. It was a short film that he made about a babysitter getting frightening phone calls, and he made it 2 years before he made When a Stranger Calls. So,
See, this is why I don't support turning
Taking
shorts
shorts
into
into
features.
features.
Oh,
but the problem is, and I guess the remake proved that you could do it. That I feel like there's enough there. They could take that opening scene and stretch it out, or at least again, stretch out the beginning and stretch out the ending, and just take out that middle chunk and still have a decent feature.
Definitely.
Yeah, they
yep. But it's
they
good.
could have just made it like, Assault on Precinct 13, where he keeps trying to get into the house and keeps calling her from somewhere.
Yeah, like I get that they were trying to explain that he'd escaped from that hospital, but like they could have made it shorter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he gave the kid
Okay.
a slow poke, so I mean, he's not all bad.
Yeah.
Is that what that was? I thought it was like
I think that's a slow poke. I think that's what
I think
the
he's right.
candy that he gave him.
it had to have been that. When I first saw it, I'm like, is he holding a popsicle? Isn't that melting?
Turd on a stick.
Yes, slowpoke.
Jason apparently doesn't like slowpokes. Okay. So, Tad, what's our next movie?
Our next movie is the 2017 film, The Babysitter.
All right, tomorrow night, you, me, party.
What up, say? B, call us if there's any trouble, okay? Cole, don't cause any trouble.
I bet B has boys over at your place all the time. That's what babysitters do.
Seriously, have you ever been awake after she's fallen asleep?
I love her.
Man, 3 of the 4 people got an STD. I got 2 people's blood on me. You do the math.
911. My babysitter is trying to kill me.
Are the attackers in the house?
They're downstairs having a blast.
Alrighty, babes, let's head upstairs and get the blood of the innocent. This would go viral.
I mean, nobody's done human sacrifice.
People have always done human sacrifice. Yeah, but like, not in America with hot people.
Hey.
Hi, Cole. It's not weird, we're just having fun.
Things get messy when you make a deal with the devil.
Why is he shirtless?
That's your first question?
There's only one way to end this, Cole. Fuck you!
Kitty, gone!
Oh my god, he shot me in the boob! What kind of dick shoots a girl in the boob?
You guys suck.
You crazy bitch.
Okay. When Cole stays up past his bedtime, he discovers that his hot babysitter is part of a satanic cult that will stop at nothing to keep him quiet. So this one was filmed in 2015, was supposed to go theatrical, and ended up getting acquired by Netflix. Directed by, is it McG? MCG?
McG. One of Mike's favorite directors.
Yeah, McG. I don't want to get into it.
But like I said, this was originally theatrical, got picked up by Netflix, got thrown on there, has a pretty stellar cast. Obviously, Samara Weaving is the highlight of this. Bella Thorne is another bigger name that people might recognize. It's sort of interesting. We'll get more into it on the third movie, but I saw this like right when it went up to Netflix. I was not sure I would like it, and I absolutely loved it. This is a rewatch for me, but it's just as much fun the second time as it was the first time. What'd you guys think?
I thought it was pretty great.
Had you guys seen it before?
No,
I had not.
I hadn't.
I had seen them both before, but they were good. So I was like, hey, cool.
I thought you guys watched movies together.
Well, the
Recently.
first one I'd watched when it first had came out, and remember, Jennifer didn't even start watching horror movies till like very recently. So even if I would have told her, there were so many movies that I'd be like, it's not even that scary, but she would never even risk it for the biscuit ever. So this was at a point I actually watched the first one by myself. And then I watched the second one with my best friend because every now and then we'll have movie nights. And I watched that because I hadn't even thought about watching the second one with her because she hadn't seen the first one. I don't know. But I really liked both of them.
I had a blast, man. The kills were great, and I don't want to really talk about them, many of them, but I love the characters. Yeah, I love anything that Samara Weaving is in. I have yet to see a movie or a TV series that she's in that I have disliked. Yeah, and just, and Ken Marino, as the dad.
I was gonna say him and Leslie Bibb are so fucking funny together.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, and you automatically, you feel for this kid. He's just he's the outcast, and I mean,
Instantly
he is
relate.
Yeah, absolutely,
It
and
was so precious, though.
right,
I was super jealous of him for the first half.
Yeah, and it's just the complete 180 that you see. I love that kind of shit in a movie, and it just, I mean, when it literally says, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Just great stuff. Great stuff. I mean, it's a great mix of horror and comedy, and they go hand in hand. Definitely check this out if you haven't.
McG has this sort of style, and it's unique to him, and it's either love or hate, I feel like, where this is like a bubblegum pop culture
comic book
horror movie where stuff pops up on screen. The characters are almost caricatures of their stereotypes.
Yeah.
You have the jock who's shirtless most of the movie, the redheaded cheerleader.
Because you don't say, yeah.
Exactly. Like it's so funny because it's right in your face and unapologetic about it. And sometimes I just, I want it. It's easy to digest. It's so much fun. It's just, it's something to turn your brain off for a night and just watch people get murdered in bloody fashion. And
it's very funny.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how it will hold up over the years, because I was a little nervous about a second watch because it references so much stuff in pop culture, and when you date a movie like that, sometimes it very quickly feels very sort of cheesy and not relevant anymore, but this still held up for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's even though I thought that some of the mythos of the book of evil or whatever, and then they drip it on the pages. I mean, it's just like, even that was, to me, that was like a little shaky, and they almost barely refer to it. You know, I mean, but the thing is, I was having so much fun, I didn't even care.
Yeah.
It's just
enough to move the plot, and then
it was a device that worked, and okay, let's go. Let's just have fun.
I haven't, none of us have really dug into really what this is about. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil something, but basically this kid, he's bullied, picked on. He has a crush on his babysitter, who's Samara Weaving, who wouldn't have a crush on her. She's awesome.
Cha-ching.
And, Yeah, she's
the coolest babysitter.
Yeah, she's super cool. Yeah, stands up for him. Super nice to him. Very sweet. Very
yeah.
right. Just helps try to build up his confidence. And she's babysitting him one night. He's supposed to be asleep. He hears them partying down in the living room, so he crawls out and watches what they're doing, and he watches them make out. Then shit goes really bad for the nerd of the group. He's murdered, and they're drinking his blood, and he finds out, oh, they're here as like a Satanist group.
The turn from goofball comedy to horror movie in that kissing moment is so great because it's exactly what the movie is, over the top. I mean,
they're playing spin the bottle.
Knives and stabs him in the head.
Not just knives, giant ass silvery knives that no one saw until she's holding them up over his head.
Ridiculous.
Like straight up Crocodile Dundee shit, that she plunges into his head.
And the dude is like, is mine supposed to bleed out? Where's the blood? Then, spray comically like a Tom and Jerry cartoon or Itchy and Scratchy or something.
Almost
that
like Evil
gag,
Dead.
Anytime that gag where somebody just gets overloaded in the face by blood is going to make me laugh every time. Dracula Dead and Loving It. That's the only scene in that movie that I laugh out loud at, is when they're putting the stake in the heart of the vampire and it just keeps shooting Steven Weber in the face over and over and over again with an outrageous amount of blood. It's the greatest gore gag ever is getting sprayed in the face with blood.
So he sees this thing he's not supposed to see, and then he gets in trouble and caught and tries to survive the group.
He almost gets away with it because he goes upstairs and, pretends he's sleeping, and they were just going to simply draw some blood from him. He thought he was safe, but he tends to have issues with needles, which is established in the opening minutes with the I don't know, the school nurse. Yeah, he's in both movies. He's pretty funny. But that part seems a little out of place to me, but it's still very funny. But I guess they had to explain some way for him to get caught. But,
and for us to, and just to think, if he would have just drank the shot,
he would have never seen all that.
Yeah.
But my whole thought process was, in that very moment when they stabbed that guy in the head, they didn't have anything down, and they literally just did it on the rug.
Yeah, the room is destroyed.
Yeah, I was like, well, how are they intending to clean this up?
Yeah, and then he comes back in and it's like normal.
Use the magic book, I guess.
And then spends the movie doing the accidentally killing the bad guys as he tries to survive, and that shit's always fun.
Yeah, it's always awesome when, I mean, I love the scene when he finally meets up with the jock and he's like, dude, did you explode her? He's like, yeah.
The jock is kind of awesome.
Yeah,
the jock is my favorite.
Yeah.
Max.
He talked them through
He's
all these,
coaching him through how to be brave and.
Yeah, I'm still going to kill you, but I'm going to still coach you.
Yeah, there's something really, I don't know, heartwarming about that. Is that weird to say? When
he's proud of him, but
right in the middle of chasing him down, and then that one bully of his shows up, and he's like, you need to go do this. You need to go face your bully. And it's like, life coaching this kid that he's going to kill, but he's life coaching this kid to face up to the bull. And it's amazing.
It is.
That's what's so great about it, because you're as viewers, we're so preordained to just hate this douchebag, jock guy. And then we end up really having just a soft spot for him. I mean, he's still a douchebag, but
he's fun. He's really fun.
Yeah.
A murdering Satan worshiper, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the same thing with B, she takes that turn and we find out their true intentions, and it's like she's still very nice, and she's like, I wish I didn't have to do this, and she's still not going directly at him.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just flawed. But they still kill people.
Still fun-loving characters, but yeah,
so
fun.
Like her showdown towards the end, where she's got the gun and they're back and forth and they're talking, and it's like there's still mutual respect and feelings back and forth. He still admires her and back and forth, and
It also has a great head explosion scene in there where the blood and I believe the teeth end up on the kid's head, where they're just stuck on his forehead. Holy shit!
Over the top,
great
gore.
stuff.
So
I mean, it's right up there with some of the great head exploding scenes from like Dawn of the Dead and Chopping Mall. To me, it's really good.
And the kid comes around, he kisses the girl, he steals the car, he does oh man, this movie's so great.
The cool car flip.
What?
I can't.
Yeah.
Well, watching this,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just amazed that this, like I said, was filmed and then sat for 2 years. Like, what are studios? What the fuck are they doing? Like, why isn't this hitting theaters? This would have done perfectly well at box office.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, it obviously did well for Netflix, so.
Right. Like, I just don't get why studios can release so much garbage and then they don't know what to do with this. Like, are you kidding? This is an easy sell.
I was thinking that. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know movies.
It's almost like the opposite of what happened in the 80s, where the rating we can get a lot away with a lot more gore now. And, like the ratings board is more braver than the studios. Whereas like back in the 80s, the studios were a heck of a lot more, bolder than the ratings board. It's just like the script's been flipped. And so we get like all these PG, ooh, there's a spooky ghost in the attic. I mean, who gives a shit? It's, give us, there's a reason why there's a lot of these old school remakes coming out and they're making money because that's what they want to see. I mean, I think that's where as a horror fan, that's what I want to see. Not necessarily remakes, but that's why I think like Scream did so well. It was the same formula, but it just had a different twist. Stick with the formula, give us a different twist.
Maybe they were waiting for Samara's name to grow. I don't know. What do you?
I don't know either, but it's like I want to once in a while have fun, and this is fun. Like, let me have fun.
Yeah. It's definitely a blast. I'm going to save a lot of what I have to say when we talk about the third film tonight, because this is probably second or third time I've watched it. I watched it back in the day when it first came out, and now rewatching it again, I have some new thoughts, but we can get to that when we get into our third film. Andy, why don't you tell us what the third film is tonight?
Our third film is the sequel to the film that we were just talking about, and it is called The Babysitter, Killer Queen. Not Freddie Mercury.
Growing up is worse than a near-death experience. I can confidently tell you that because 2 years ago, my babysitter and her friends tried to kill me. The worst part is nobody believes me. And now everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I miss her.
You're a weird little dude with a crush on a murderous, fictitious babysitter. We just got to get you laid.
That's your advice?
That's what the just came out of my mouth, ain't it?
Cole, you're my best friend. You're not crazy. It's this place. We're all going to the lake this weekend. Just come with me. I already took my dad's car. It's just you and me.
We're back! Oh! Let's go, Cole! Oh, you okay? You look like you seen a gorgeous black ghost.
Don't worry, guys. I'm good.
Where's Sonia?
Getting cookies.
I watched you all die!
We are dead. Duh.
Clearly, you guys are into some heavy cosplay. Just leave it be.
Ow! Oh,
yes!
shit!
Oh, no! It's all gonna get dumb again!
Update me on the Psycho Breakfast Club.
Basically, they were a blood cult, and they made a deal with the devil. And they only had 3 hours to complete the ritual.
We could hide out till sunrise.
We finish this, but we have to go back down to limbo.
I love you, Cole.
Could this night get any more erotic?
Hey, Coley.
You're my killer of the night. I ain't get killed first. That's some post-Jordan Peele era horror movie progress.
Okay, it's more the same. Cole is much older now. Even though it says 2 years, this was actually filmed in 2019, so Cole looks considerably older, in this movie, even though it says 2 years. But after having the satanic blood cult, he's living another nightmare, which is high school, and basically nobody really believes what happened that night, because there was no bodies that were actually recovered. They just think that he went nuts and did a barrel roll in a Chevelle into his parents' living room. But basically, from what this is, he's trying to adjust, and his parents have him on just a myriad of psychological medicines. But the next door neighbor girl invites him out to a party at the lake where Cole basically dodges a bullet because his parents want to check him, into a psychiatric ward, pretty much. And the neighbor's dad, which is the girl, her dad is hilarious, and basically they try to track them down, and it turns out the neighbor girl has also joined the satanic cult, and he must team up with the new girl in school who actually has problems of her own to eventually defeat the satanic cult that's come back. The whole same cast, which has been summoned back from hell. Max, the cheerleader, Johnny, all of them are back, and they're trying to once again get the pure blood of Cole. Wow. The kills in this movie are just really great. Surfboards to the head, cheerleaders' heads getting torn off, her boob gets shot again. Awesome. I have to do my favorite. I always do my favorite line of the movie. My daughter is DTF. She ditches Thursdays and Fridays.
Right.
My favorite, best line of the movie. The cinematography is great when Mel says it's time to take the red pill or the blue pill. Join her or go with your parents, and then we see Cole walk out to the hallway, and of course, he looks to his left and his right, and you have red lighting and blue lighting. I just really love that effect. Kid Marino is actually, he's still trying to be like this really cool dad, but he's trying to be a very good father and get his help that he thinks that his kids need. But he's also smoking weed with the next door neighbor, which is great.
When the wife constantly says, "Did you take pot?"
Did you take?
Did you take pot?
Yes. Clearly you don't care where your daughter is, and the dad just goes, "No, I don't care." Just really great one-liners in this movie. Totally want that boat that they're on with like the 70s, shag pad that's in there with the Zodiac rug. Loved it. Love that. I love that set. And like I said, the kills with like the I guess what is that giant fishing hook to that girl's float. I believe her name was Boom Boom, and then it says literally, "What the fuck again?" Yeah, great stuff. And fuck that rattlesnake scene. That's not that. No. No.
That gave me so much anxiety.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Screw that. If he can't handle needles, he'd have been shitting his pants. yeah, I won't reveal everything, but I love the fact that they're playing fucking Tangerine Dream in this. They're playing Love on a Real Train from Risky Business. Loved it. I love that the neighbor guy's dad, the neighbor girl's dad's name is Juan, which is really strange. I thought that, but the one thing though, I have one complaint. I thought the Street Fighter gag was a little too cheesy. With them doing like all the Hadoukens and I thought that was,
but then just kind of
I wasn't a big I mean deer antler chandeliers hitting guys in the face, and once again Max is great. You finally found my dick, Cole, when he's able to kick him in the dick. And his face getting ripped up with the outboard motor. Just, I mean, really, really great stuff in this film. And at the end, I just, like I said, I really love Mac's character, Robbie Amell, which is Stephen Amell's cousin who plays Arrow. You fucking stud, Cole. I'm not even mad when they know that Cole actually got laid. So anyway, I'll shut up. Guys, have at it.
I really like the addition of Jenna Ortega. I thought she was great in this. His friend Phoebe, who is the quiet girl, joins this movie as really the only new character, and she's a great addition. I really thought I think she has a great future. I know she's in a lot of other things, but this was like a nice meaty role for her, and I felt like she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she's great on the TV series You that's on Netflix. She's on the she's good.
I'm not familiar.
I will say my personal favorite part of the movie was when the policeman is there getting descriptions of their children. And he asks Juan for the picture of his baby, and like not even a second thought. He just hands him the picture of his car.
Every time. What?
Yeah, it's weird because I'm usually not a fan. Well, I guess I'm about to prove myself wrong, but when a movie just basically does the same thing the second time as a sequel, I'm like, I don't know. But I mean, I love Home Alone 2. I love Halloween 2. Like, I if I like the first one, give me more. And that's what they did. They even brought back the original cast.
Yeah, because they like did everything in like the same sequence and.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, and they still they recognize that and sort of make fun of themselves, poke fun at themselves. Yeah. It's all tongue in cheek, and
that's what's great. About
Happy Death Day does the same sort of.
Right. Yeah,
but this one really does a lot of the same things, like from literally the nurse scene to.
A lot like rubbing his arm after he gets a shot, like.
A lot of the same setup, which I liked, I guess.
But I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when she shoots herself in the tit again, this is the thing. She's sitting there. She shot a rabbit. She shot a deer, like point blank. And these things like blew up. And then she just is over here firing off shots, and it ricochets off the wall and shoots her right in the titty again. I'm like, girl, you have good aim. Obviously.
Yeah. Like the when she shoots the rabbit, it's like so cartoony.
Yeah.
I love it. Like that is the tone of this movie is cartoon. It's like Roadrunner or something. Like to shoot the rabbit and it just explodes. It's like Jason sort of said, it's almost like a comic book on screen with deaths. It's fun.
Yeah, I think this one follows the sequel rules of turning everything up a notch, especially the comedy and the goofiness and the far outness of it. But I have this feeling Mike's about to say some shit. What's going on over there?
No, I'm not going to say any shit. No, I love this movie. My question is, do you think this was planned all along, both movies?
Like making two movies, or the story
the story was planned out for both films. because when I was watching the first one again, I am seeing different things this time because of this movie. You know, it's a pretty big spoiler, but you know, the babysitter, her motivation is completely different at the end of this movie than what we suspected was her motivation in the first movie.
Yeah.
And yet she's talking about in this movie on how like that was the plan all along. And so when I'm going back and watching the first movie, you know, she saves his ass in the kitchen there in the third act by blowing the girl's head off with the shotgun. She never really tries to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, and she's only stopped because this kid thinks he has to stop her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It almost feels like all of this was planned because you're right. There is so many beats in this movie that are just straight from the first movie intentionally. And I think it works because, well, one, I feel like it's planned out, and two, it's all part of the joke and it's all part of the structure, I feel, of like one story. Even so, like one of my favorite moments, and this is my girlfriend Brandy's one of her favorite things too, is like when every time, and it happens in the first movie, but it's way more obvious in the second movie, that every time he's talking to that girl, that his friend, his surroundings are in slow motion. Like time has slowed down when he's with this girl. And I love that. It's so cool. And it's more subtle in the first movie than it is in the second movie. Because I don't remember it before when I watched the first movie, but rewatching it again, I'm like, holy crap, they did it. And it's like in the same spot, in the same moment of the movie too. But then there's that moment when he is stealing the car in the third act of the first movie, and he looks to his neighbor girl, friend, and she has this look on her face that I totally like. Her look is like, yeah, do it. You seize the day. You win. You beat this thing. But I see the look completely different now because it has more of a menacing look on it.
Yeah.
Knowing now that she's 2 years later is going to be part of this cult.
Yeah.
I guess I would have
stretching.
I think so. I mean, I would have answered. I think it was completely written later. And they just did a really good job of tying them together. I watched the first one again and then watched Killer Queen for the first time after it. But I know what you're saying, but her look, I think half of it's just her face. But then, I mean, it is the loving go buddy look. I think you're reading into it.
I don't know.
That's cool that it could be, but I think they did a damn good job of writing them two together.
I'm kind of torn. Like, part of me thinks that, like, I hope it wasn't pre-planned because then that's genius writing to take these moments from the first movie and do something different with them in the second movie. It's the Halloween 2 thing, right? Where like, Jamie Lee was never supposed to be Michael Myers' sister in the first movie, but now that's forever etched in our brains thanks to the second movie. They kind of do the same thing with this, where like now I'm seeing things completely different in the first movie because of what happens in the second movie. And I think it's written intentionally that way, and I think it's genius if it wasn't pre-planned. On the other side of it, it's like I kind of wish it was pre-planned because then I don't want another movie influencing how I feel about the first movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unless that was the intention all along. I mean, so you're probably right. And I think it's genius writing and genius filmmaking on their part to take elements of the first movie and flip it like that. And it works.
Yeah.
And you
McGee
almost feel like it's premeditated.
McGee has said that he already has the third movie planned. It's just a matter of if Netflix says go, then he's ready to go. And he already has like a story arc and has it planned out. So maybe he did. I don't know. But he said he has a plan for Cole.
Well, I looked, and the second movie has like 4 writers. Mick G is credited, and there was 3 others. One by the name of Brian Duffield, who was the sole writer of the first movie. So who knows?
I spent most of the second movie going, are they really bringing Samara back? Because
because it doesn't happen for quite a while.
And the first couple clips of her you see are very like grainy, like maybe they were just some shots from the first one that they reused or something because they were so short and so.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm like, oh, they really did get her. I was so happy to see her make it.
And she
Even
looked
if it
a
was
little
a crazy wig or whatever was going on.
I was going to say it had to have been wig or something.
Way
'cause she-
blonde.
Yeah.
Well, and it just looked like it was fake hair. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But happy she was back.
Definitely. And as
Really.
much as because yeah, I think we all do. We love the character so much all the way up until like the the cult stuff in the first movie, because she is the coolest babysitter ever, and she's just awesome with him and everything. And that's the thing, like
You want it to be real.
you want her to be the good guy at the end, even though she's the leader of this cult thing. So the fact that in the end of the second one she's the good guy, and I'm like, oh yay.
Yep.
well,
So
and
there's-
she like entwines the two Phoebe and Cole's story too, because she was both their babysitters. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and she talks about how just looking out for him in the ending of the second movie. So I feel like, again, watching the first one today, there's that scene where he's just like, he's breaking down and he's like, I thought we were friends and I thought you really cared about me, but all you wanted was my blood and all this stuff. And I don't know, again, you can say I'm reading way too much into it, but I'm taking her performance in a different direction in that scene, and her part of her conversation on that, as if she's purposely saying mean things back so that she can keep her persona of what so the others. And she even talks about in the first one too, there in the last half, like she didn't care about any of those other guys, any of the other members of the cult. So I don't know.
So, but they're really going to do a third one? Like, didn't this wrap up? Oh, the book in the sand. But still, like, gosh, this one ends so good.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate sequels.
I kind of don't think they should do one, because I feel like
it's solid.
I feel like what's so great about both of these movies is that Cole has the greatest arc through both of these movies. Like, the other movie had to happen to finish his arc, to fully, because he's a mess at the beginning of the second one because of the events of the first movie, probably more of a mess than he was before. But by the end of this, he gets the girl. He's not a virgin anymore. He's more confident. He's stronger. He's everything that the babysitter wanted him to grow up to be by the end of the film. So I feel like his story is over. So unless they go with a whole new story, which I guess they could.
Sure.
Because obviously she's babysat before.
That's true. And, the more splat stick there is, the better, I think, in the world, right? So,
yeah.
Fun movie.
For sure.
I loved when they called him colonoscopy.
Yeah, I love it's like a lot of childish dumb humor, and that's right up my alley. So,
And I was really sad when Melanie chopped her dad's limbs off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of started liking that dude.
I know.
This one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, I guess Juan's gone now.
I thought maybe there were a couple, I should have wrote them down, but I thought there were a couple gags I thought maybe went a little too cheesy, cartoony, but again, it fits the sequel thing for me, I guess.
Oh, and I wanted to ask Andrew, because, you had mentioned the book in the first one, and, how you kind of thought, like, going in that direction would be kind of cheesy or whatever. This one is definitely far more supernatural things going on than the first one. So how do you feel about all that?
I didn't mind the supernatural things. I mean, and I don't mind, like, the sort of old school Batman and Robin, what the fuck, kind of like Biff Zop, whatever, what the fuck. It's just like, I thought that, just give a little bit of that. Like, I thought like like I said, like I thought the Street Fighter shit was just, that was just too much.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just thought that was a little too corny. I mean, it's like nothing wrong with the book or anything. I mean, they could have incorporated that even more. They could have done even more with that. I wouldn't have cared.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, so that's the films we're going to talk about tonight, but there's still more to come, folks. We're going to take a quick break and listen to a promo of our podcast network, the PFPN. Be sure to check out our newest addition to the network, Podcast from the Crypt. It's a very fun show. Definitely check them out. And we will be right back with more Attack of the Killer podcast right after this.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
And we're back. It's the segments time of the show. It's time to start off with Jason and shout outs. Shimmy shim sham sham.
It's time for shout outs. Shout outs. Shout outs. Shout outs. Shout outs.
That's right. Everyone's favorite segment, Shamouts. We asked everybody what your favorite babysitter horror movie was and got some fun responses. First on our Facebook page, got Don and Ellie. He says, to move past the obvious elephant in the room, the recently released The Mortuary Collection, now on Shudder, so you guys can get your plug-ins for the channel. Here's an extra bonus. That's right. Just use the code AOTKP. Get a free month of Shudder. They have a great babysitter-themed segment involved, much like Tales of Halloween, where that one's opening babysitter short is the highlight of the film. Other good ones include Mischief Night and the decent indie slasher Babysitter Wanted. Mortuary Collection on Shudder. Thanks, Don. Then we got Amelia Kibbe says, I hate to be a basic bitch, but Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Woo!
She is the ultimate babysitter, and I would definitely let her watch my kid. Anybody who can fight off a murderer with a knitting needle and a clothes hanger is incredible. Thanks, Amelia.
I have some disagreements with that one.
Oh, shit. Let's hear it.
Only because when all this stuff happens and he's in the house, why didn't she have the kids leave the house instead of going upstairs and locking them in the bathroom?
She eventually does.
I know she
Yeah.
did.
So there.
Well, technically they leave. She's there still. But
Right. She tells them to go to the Mackenzies, have them call the police, do as I say.
That'll get you. Okay. Just. Does that satisfy your. Anyway, you've been tatted. Anyway, up next on our Facebook
That'll never wash off.
group edition, we got Tim Lederer. He says, if House of the Devil counts, then that's the one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that counts.
It takes a
That's a great
real
one.
out of nowhere surprise to get me and yell, holy shit, at the television. And this movie did indeed have one. Yeah, that movie rules. Nick Leadham says, maybe The Gate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The big sister just watches kids and ends up throwing a party, and then the kids fly around on the ceiling. Yeah.
We got our pal Brian Clark. Here we go. Brian. Just kidding. He says, aside from the obvious answer of Halloween, the one for me is the sleazy, stupid, inept Canadian flick, The Pit. Wherein,
oh my God, how did I not think of The Pit?
Pit's awesome. Wherein a perverted little kid feeds people to his pet cavemen at the command of his even more perverted demonic teddy bear.
Of course, that one.
That movie is freaking amazing.
It is a good movie.
Oh my God, if you've not seen The Pit, you need to see. Thank you, Brian, for bringing that up. Yeah.
I guess we're doing the Babysitter Part 2 episode.
guess so, yeah.
Coming soon.
Or a teddy bear
We're
one.
just going to do a whole episode on The Pit.
Okay.
That movie it's so fucking weird.
Yep.
You could do Pits and have Rabid, you know.
Up next, we got attacker Peter Parker.
Oh, I get it. Armpits.
Uh-huh.
Yes, come on. I figured
It took me a minute.
Mr. Pun would love that one.
Took too
I
long.
do love it. It just took forever.
Oh, Peter Parker says Halloween 1978. He says The House of the Devil 2009 and The Babysitter 2017. Heck to the yeah, Peter, if that is your real name. I know it's not. Okay,
Spider-Man.
it's Spider-Man. And then over on the Twitter at AOTKP, we got Clubber Bam at Clubber Bam says, my favorite babysitter related horror movie is Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween, 1978. And I confess, I like When a Stranger Calls from 2006 over the original.
Yeah.
Interesting, Clubber Bam.
I need to see it.
If that's your real name. Yeah, you probably should. And then tell me if it's good or not, so I don't have to waste my
We'll
time.
have to watch it for Babysitter Part 2.
I guess.
That's right.
Killer Queen. And then over on Instagram, we got Scariest Things with a Z says Halloween. Duh. Good. Yeah, you're definitely right. And then we got Attacker Rod at 4 Foot Rod says, besides the original Halloween, Better Watch Out was a fun twist on the traditional babysitter horror. Completely agree, Rod. Good call.
Yes.
That movie rules.
Hey, Andy, have you seen Better Watch Out?
Yeah, that's the
Christmas.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes, and the kids turn out to be little shits. Well, one of them.
Yeah, so who was worse to babysit, that kid or you?
Oh.
Don't answer that. It's incriminating. Don't.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about that.
And all of you can leave your comments. You can leave us a voicemail. You can call 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. We'll play it on the show. Get your voice heard on Attack of the Killer podcast. And that's shout outs. But just wait. We are not done yet.
What?
Mike, get this.
What?
Celebrity visit again.
Oh my God. Who could it be?
Let's find out.
It's Stone Cold Steve Austin for Attack of the Killer podcast. Anyway, I'm sitting down at the Broken Skull. I pop open the Steve Weiser. I turn on the boob tube. I see this Jason Voorhees and this black boy up on top of this damn building there. They're having this gimmick match like a Hell in a Cell. Anyway, this sumbitch, he's taking lefts, he's taking rights, he's opening up like a bastard. He's knocking him upside the head. And they say he ain't even doing nothing. He's barely selling this shit. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, you better get your ass serious, son. Hit this sumbitch with a chair because the sun said flip and a goddamn small package ain't gonna get the job done. So anyway, his knuckles are bleeding like a bastard. And he's panting like a dog trying to shit a peach pit. So anyway, he says, take your best damn shot. So anyway, this big bastard rears back. He knocks this bastard's head off. It rolls down the side of the building into a damn dumpster. Moral of the story is, pick your battles or some damn hobo's going to be picking your head up out of the damn trash can, kicking it down the street. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. And that's all I got to say about that. Here's Mike's picks.
Thank you, Stone Cold. Okay, so to continue on with our Hall of Fame here on Insane's Picks, people are going to be surprised. I haven't done this guy sooner, but for the Hall of Fame this time around, I am inducting Fred Olen Ray.
Whoa.
Director of some of my favorite films of his are Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, Phantom Empire, Scalps, Evil Tunes. See, Fred Olen Ray spent most of his childhood in Florida watching horror movies on television. He was a really, really big fan and gained a vast knowledge of cinema. His brain, his knowledge of film and film history is incredible. I know this firsthand because I've had an actual one-on-one conversation with him. Jason and I got to meet Fred Olen Ray several years ago and sit around after hours having martinis with Fred Olen Ray. Well, we watched him drink martinis.
Yeah, it was nuts.
But it was cool just listening to him tell stories for hours on hours. It was great. He got into filmmaking, doing various jobs on different low-budget productions throughout Florida. That was happening in Florida at the time. And eventually graduated up to making his own films. Learning quickly on how to manage making films on a low to no budget, he would often crank out film after film after film. In one particular story, he was making one movie and turned around and he was making a movie for one company, and then after hours called his friends and it's like, hey, we have some extra film stock here. We have these sets that aren't going to get torn down for a couple weeks. Hurry up, let's make another movie around it. And that's how Phantom Empire was made, just based on the fact that there was sets left over and they shot around the final production of this other film and made another movie. His films rarely cost more than $500,000, and he has written under at least 30 different pen names. He was one of the first to fill in time at the end of his films with outtakes, mostly because he would never film enough footage for a traditional standard feature-length film. Biohazard was one of the first films that he did this, that he put outtakes at the end of the film. And Biohazard having one of the greatest endings in cinema history, where the love interest of the film reveals herself to be one of the weird alien monsters, takes her skin off and there's a monster underneath, and then the lead guy turns and looks at the camera and says cut, and that's the end of the movie. And then putting bloopers at the end of the film would end up being common practice in other big budget films. He has filmed footage for a lost Ed Wood script that was never completed. He used unused footage of a film that he did with John Carradine. He used John Carradine a lot up until John Carradine died. And then he had footage for a film that he started to shoot with John Carradine, but never finished. And he ended up reusing that film for the movie Jacko, just like how Ed Wood used Bela Lugosi's footage for Plan 9 from Outer Space. His production company, Retro Media Production, is a great label where you can find all of his films, and he would put other films on the label too. A lot of awesome lost, like Sword and Sandal films, or classic old horror films that have been lost to public domain. One of my favorites that he put out was a very rare Ed Wood film called Bride of the Gorilla. So that is the inductee for this episode, the great Fred Olen Ray.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. And that's the show. I want to thank everybody out there for listening, and special thanks to Emily and Jennifer for joining us.
Oh my gosh, it was so awesome having you.
Yeah,
It was so fun.
Thanks for having us.
I had so much fun. Thank you for inviting us again.
Yeah, tell everyone where we can find your show and all that good stuff.
Well, you can find us on, I'm going to list it off here as best as I can. I know we are on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Anchor, and I know there's some more, but yeah, you can get to all our platforms though through the Anchor profile, so that's pretty cool. I try to put links to all that stuff in, like the episode details or like my posts, so people can get to it easier. Yeah.
Go follow them on Instagram. Go follow them on Facebook, and you'll see every time that they upload a new episode. Or just follow them on, whatever device you or program you use to listen to podcasts.
Yes, and our episodes come out at 10 a.m. on Sundays now.
Yes.
We changed.
And obviously at the PFPN.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yes.
Always be plugging. Sorry, I got to.
We are
You
part
know,
of the
that's what it
family.
You are totally part of the family. So, the next time you're looking for something scary to watch, do yourself a favor and watch the greatest American heartwarming comedy cinema masterpiece, Adventures in Babysitting. Talk to you on the next episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of?
Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 It's the end of the show.
See you next time.
Hey, it's Jason. Show's over. I got this message from Insane Mike. He didn't have the heart to come and tell you guys this himself. He needs your help, and he's a fragile guy. He needs you to know that you're behind him and you're on his side. So look, he wanted me to come and say a few words at the end of the show here. So first, thanks for listening. Second, thanks for subscribing. And third, head over to jointheattackers.com and find out how you can support Insane Mike and become an attacker today.